On January 2nd, 2014, adequate notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been furnished by inclusion thereof in the annual schedule of meetings for 2014, which has been posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, filed with the Borough Clerk, faxed to the Our Town, the Record, the Community News, and the County Seat newspapers, and distributed to all persons, if any, requesting copies of same pursuant to said act. In case of an emergency or fire alarm, you must evacuate the building by using any of the exit doors in the room. They're immediately to my right, and the double doors at the rear of the room. Occupants must exit the building by using the staircase and not the elevator. This meeting is being recorded by both video and audio and may be rebroadcast.
Can everyone please rise for the invocation? We're not having an invocation. I'm going to ask Joey Diaz to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance at this point.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're gonna skip right to proclamations and presentations. We have a very special presentation to make this evening, and I see our former mayor and Assemblyman Tim Eustace is here to add to that presentation. Tonight's presentation is to a very special individual that I'm sure everybody in town knows, Joey Diaz. Joey's been, one of our most visible citizens. We always see him running around town, and he's worked as a pool employee, he's working out in schools, and this year he ran the New York Marathon, which is an amazing accomplishment with a wonderful, wonderful time that he did. Congratulations. And as part of his running the marathon, he also took that as an opportunity to do some fundraising, and raised over $3,000 for Autism Speaks. A wonderful charity, and just so, Joe, you're a wonderful example to our town. You make a positive contribution to our community. You're a great example to the students that you work with every day and see every day, and the students that are certainly here. On behalf of the council, I congratulate you on your wonderful accomplishment, and have you, show us every day that you can make a positive contribution. I'm going to give a quote, as I tend to do, and it's Mother Teresa that once said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." And Joe, you do that. You lead us in your example of being positive interaction with our community and a positive part of our town, and making our town a very special place that it is. And we thank you and congratulate you. I have a certificate from the council that I'll read. It's from the Borough of Maywood, certificate of recognition awarded to Joseph Diaz in recognition of your fundraising efforts for Autism Speaks, along with your participation and completion of the 2014 New York City Marathon. Congratulations. I'm going to ask you to come up and present the certificate tonight. Come on up and make this presentation as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. see you. It's a wonderful experience when you can come in as an assemblyman and congratulate one of your local citizens for doing something amazing. And Joe, you did something amazing. I kid Joe, I'm a runner. I've done 6 marathons, and I told Joe if he didn't see me in New York, I was probably ahead of him. And you all know what he said to me, right? But I want to congratulate Joe. From the Senate and Assembly, we have a citation for Joe to thank him for his work bringing the news of autism to the rest of us, and for finishing 26.2 miles, 3 hours and 41 minutes, is that what it was?
45 minutes, 10 seconds.
3 hours and 45 minutes, 10. Imagine running 26 miles in under 4 hours. Let's give him a hand.
One more. Just look right in him when you get a chance. Ready? Count 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
Council members.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Creo que digo así de memoria. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You guys, good work.
How you doing?
All right, well, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is to welcome the Maywood Avenue students. Welcome here today. And to introduce you to everyone, I'll ask for the clerk to do a roll call.
Mayor Padavano.
Here.
Council members. Lindenau.
Here.
Maroney.
Here.
Eisenberg.
Here.
Messer.
Here.
Fabre.
Here.
Ballerini.
Here.
Borough Attorney Ronald Dario.
Here.
Borough Clerk Jean Calabra is here. And Borough Administrator Roberta Stern.
Here.
Well, this is always a fun night. It's also one of the most terrifying nights, quite frankly, for the council members and myself, because, quite frankly, every year the Maywood Avenue students come with some of the best questions that are presented to this council throughout the year, and some of the hardest ones to answer, quite frankly. So we appreciate that you're here. You're here to see how your local government works. As you've seen by the roll call, so there are 6 council members that sit and pass the ordinances or laws of the town. I, as the mayor, oversee the meetings. The mayor in the borough of Maywood does not get to vote unless there is a tie, where the mayor can then break a tie. I don't think in 3 years that I've done that yet. But everyone up here, with the exception of the clerk and the borough attorney and the borough administrator, are volunteers. We're all elected. The 7 of us are elected to these offices. The mayor serves as a 4-year term. The council members serve a 3-year term. You can be elected as many times as the people choose to re-elect you. As you remember, and you see on the outside of this building, the John A. Stewart building. John Stewart was the mayor of this town for probably 30 years, I guess. Assemblyman Eustace, who stands in the back, served his 4 years as mayor of this town prior to getting elected to the state assembly. But we all do this as a volunteer basis. It is our privilege and honor to serve as council members and the mayor of this town. We try our best to keep taxes down, and we try our best to make sure that the roads are paved and the parks are cleaned and the ball fields are kept well.
Celebrate things.
And we celebrate things, as the borough administrator is reminding me. Obviously, we're having the tree lighting ceremony coming up after Thanksgiving on Friday this year, which is one of our little celebrations that we do in town. We live in a very unique town. There's only about 9,600 people who live in Maywood, and it's a relatively small town. But Maywood has a very unique character, in my opinion. It's a very small feel to it. Even though we're surrounded by Route 80 and Route 17 and Route 4, some of the busiest areas in the country, quite frankly. But we still have a very small community feel, and that is in part to our Pleasant Avenue, where all the stores are downtown, and because of the good school system that we have. Mr. Jordan, Mr. Bauer, Mr. Timmons, they do a great job. The Board of Education does a great job. Some of the Board of Ed members are here tonight. They do a great job, and we have a wonderful, wonderful school system in town. And Maywood is a very special place, and no matter where you go in your future lives, if you move out of town, I hope you remember all the good times that you had in Maywood and that you can have in Maywood as our small town. So at this point, I will open it up to anybody who has questions about anything in Maywood. Come on up and grill us all. Anybody? Come on up. I don't think that one's working. You're going to have to talk to you can just...
Oh, I can pick it up?
No, it will pick up your voice.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Mayor, should we have them state their name and their address like we...
Well, they can state their names. They can state their names.
I'm Karen Molina. And I noticed that there's a patrol officer that designates parking tickets on West Pleasant. Do you think that that's beneficial to the small businesses?
You see, I told you this. Right off the bat, right out of the gate. Well, sometimes it does help. Yeah, and our assemblyman is running out the door. Sometimes people get annoyed when they get tickets for staying there more than 15 minutes, especially in some of the spots that are designated as 15-minute spots. But that really does kind of help to make sure that people don't park there all day long, because if somebody parks their car there all day long, then the small business person, the customers won't come to their store. So although we don't like to give tickets to people who spend money on Pleasant Avenue, sometimes it's necessary that to make sure people don't camp out there all day long.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. You can start the line up if you want to ask questions. You can. It'll pick it up. Just talk loudly.
Okay. My name is Asana Tizuku. Okay. Well, many students walk to and from school on Maywood Avenue, and now there's the 4 houses being made, and in some of those houses there's no sidewalks, and kids usually have to walk on the dirt or like the curb, and it's really dangerous for them. Is there anything the board can do to make the sidewalks faster?
Well, I don't know how we can get the contractor to do the sidewalks a little quicker, but what has happened, if you notice, there's a new crossing guard at Lenox and that area, because we're trying to encourage the students to walk on the other side of the street to get to the school, and then the crossing guard will crossing by the church there. It should not be much longer. I don't know if the building department liaison has any updates on how much longer it's going to be, or the borough administrator?
I don't know if it's much longer, but one of the good things is that somebody decided to build 4 new homes in Maywood, so everybody, as a resident, will be happy to see additional money added to the tax rolls, which is part of what happens when you have new homes. And it is an inconvenience, but if people know in New York City, the old saying, dig we must. You're a little bit too young to know that saying, but a lot of people in the audience might know it. Progress. And it's been an inconvenience, but we have circumvented it by having the crossing guard, making sure that the students can safely go to school.
And it's very close to being done.
Yes.
And 2 of the houses are sold, possibly a third. Yeah, so it's moving along. Hopefully not much longer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Nastasia Woolley, and the dog park at Memorial Park is always littered with waste such as broken dog toys and treats and various litter that the owners throw there. Is there anything being done to clean up the park?
Well,
interesting. I guess Parks and Grounds, anybody?
I have to be quite honest. I mean, if something like that happens, you should notify us at Borough Hall. We have not gotten that as a comment from anyone. I know that there were leaves there, which disturbed me today, so today our park crew did blow the leaves out, but we haven't heard any comments about that. If in fact that is the case, we need to be notified so that it can be taken care of.
We'll tell the DPW, Mr. Lindenau is the DPW liaison, and I'm sure that he will tell the supervisors tomorrow to take a good look at that, to make sure it's cleaned up, and we'll address that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, gentlemen and ladies.
My name's Nicole Healy. I have a quick question. As you know, on Pleasant Avenue, or Uptown, what that's commonly called, it's a very popular shopping area for neighboring towns and boroughs to visit. Is it possible to add any additional parking spaces so that other shoppers and Maywoodians would be able to shop there?
Well, parking is always a premium on Pleasant Avenue, which is a good thing, because it shows that a lot of people want to be there. I guess the town's always trying to look at some other areas where parking could be created. I know about 10 years ago or so, a new parking lot was taken over by the town, by the dry cleaners, which used to be the old hardware store, and there's created some new parking. There's public parking behind the Maywood Inn or the Twin Door Tavern. We're always looking for additional space. Unfortunately, a lot of the properties around Pleasant Avenue are developed already. I don't know if anybody has a thought on that, but we're always looking for additional parking spaces because we understand that it is tight. The fortunate thing is almost every store up there is rented, with the exception of maybe one or two. So what that kind of says is that it's working and people are circling a lot and driving around to find that crucial spot, and sometimes it's a bit of a pain, but it does work, and we're always on the lookout for additional parking. So we'll keep looking at it and try to talk to the property owners as well.
Okay, thank you.
For bringing that up.
My name is Michael Seaman. On Spring Valley Road, the street was paved, but only some parts of it were paved. Do you have a plan to pave the rest of it?
Run a flyer a couple of months.
What?
Okay, Mike, that was a joke.
The Spring Valley Road, as you know, is a really long street, and Spring Valley Road needed to be paved for many, many years, and we've paved about 3/4 of it at this point, and probably in the spring we'll get the last bit of it that goes into Spring Valley Ave, down by the mall, and finish it up. The incredible thing is paving is an extremely expensive process, and if you were to do Maywood Spring Valley Road all at once, probably it would be well over $1 million to do that. So that's why it was broken up and done, so that the taxpayers didn't get smacked across the head with a big tax bill. But it's going to get done, and in fact, we just had the borough engineer create a map of the town, which is going to be up on the borough website very soon, showing all of the streets that are going to get paved as the time goes on, because there are a lot of streets that need to be paved in town. Thank you for bringing that up.
Hey, Michael, we made sure that we paved really well right on your house.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Abigail Mellis, and I have a question for you. In June, as you know, the pool only opens on weekends. Would you consider opening it on weekdays, too?
Well, I can answer that.
After 4?
Pool liaison.
After 4. Like after
four.
4. After 3 or 4.
The biggest problem that we have down the pool is a lot of the employees that are there are students, and they're not out of school yet either, so we don't really have the right staff to be able to keep it open during the week while school is still in session.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Matthew Rivera, and I would have a question for you. I have noticed that in Maywood convenience stores, electronic cigarettes are located on the counter rather than behind and out of reach. Are there any regulations against that? If not, what can be done to address this issue?
I wish the Assemblyman was still here. I don't have the answer to that. I don't believe that there is a state law that regulates where electronic cigarettes can be kept. If there is, we'll make sure it's enforced. But that's a very good point. Certainly, tobacco cigarettes are regulated on where they can be placed and who they can be sold to and what age groups they can be sold to. So the electronic cigarettes likely should be in the same category as the tobacco ones. It's a great issue to bring up, and we'll make sure we pass it along to our local assemblyman.
Thank you.
My name's Peter Carpentier. I live on East Central, and recently there was a project to install high-tension cables, which now there's a strip of asphalt that people are trying to avoid by swerving really close. They're like hugging the curb as they're driving down the road, and it poses a threat to people who are working in their yards and just walking home. And I was wondering if there are any plans to pave that or just sort of deter people from doing that.
Yeah, Public Service did a pretty bad job on East and West Central Avenue. They tore it all up. As everybody knows, the intersection was closed from between Maywood Avenue and Central Avenue for about 4 or 5 days, which was a real difficult task. That was Public Service putting that new cable underground. And unfortunately, I think what the project had happened was they hit some rock and they had to move over close to the curb, and that's why they dug up close to the curb. They ripped up everybody's sidewalk as well. They're going to be replaced. Public Service is going to replace them. They unfortunately took down a lot of trees. They're going to be replaced with newer trees, which are much smaller than the ones that were taken down, unfortunately. But the asphalting will be repaved as well. Central Avenue will be redone. And the county will probably like to do that, because that's county road. But thank you for bringing it up. And thank you for everybody's patience on Central Avenue. It's been a very long few months there.
Hi, my name is Ava Wiebe, and I have a question. To Hackensack High School, there is only one side of town that a bus is provided to. The other side of town doesn't receive any type of busing. It is a very long walk and sometimes difficult to do, especially when you have working parents who can't drive you to and from school. Is there any way subscription busing to Hackensack High School could be provided for the side of town that isn't supplied busing?
Where are those Board of Ed members that are here?
I'll jump in on this one.
Okay, the liaison to the Board of Ed, Mr. Messar.
As the liaison to the Board of Education, my responsibility is to interact with the members of the Board of Education on issues that are common to both the school and to the town. There are certain issues that fall under the town's jurisdiction, and there are certain issues that fall under the Board of Ed's jurisdiction. I believe that your question that you're asking falls under the Board of Ed's jurisdiction, and that's an issue that you should bring up to them at their next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Kevork Ibrahimian, and on the weekends, whenever I'm walking back from uptown on Palmer, some of the lights are like very dim and some of them are off, and I feel unsafe. So is there a possible way to fix this?
Street lights?
Yeah.
We'll have...
I was going to say, my neighbor across the street, Michelle, is very keen on when the light in front of my house goes out. She'll call PSE&G, give them the pole number and the location within 10 minutes of the light going out, before I even get home from work or notice it. They're PSE&G lights. All you have to do is we have to have somebody call PSE&G and say these lights are out or there's an issue with them. So tell an adult, you can tell us. We can make a phone call to PSE&G, just note the poles. There's little labels on the poles that say MW103, et cetera, We can call them, they can come out and take a look at the lights. So.
And you just did tell us, so we'll make sure that the borough administrator talks to the police department and make sure that they take a look at it. Usually the police officers, when they're patrolling around town at night, they do take note of a lot of the lights that are out, and they get that code to public service. But we'll make sure that that gets addressed. Thank you.
I'm just wondering between where and where?
I'm not exactly sure,
When
but it's like
coming from
on
uptown?
From uptown?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm Jordan Verdan. I'm from Verdanis, and I don't really go to the park often, but the last time that I was there, and for the past few years that I've went there, I've noticed that a lot of the water fountains don't work. So, are there any plans to fix them?
There are plans, which I'm glad you brought that up. We did get it. That answer I have. I've been studying all night. We did get a grant recently, and we're replacing all of the water fountains throughout Memorial Park, and I guess down by the pool as well.
Yep.
So there'll be all new water fountains come the springtime. So we all know that they're in pretty sad shape, the old ones.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, I'm Shannon Jordan. So as you all know, there's like a Maywood Senior Center near the pool. So are there any plans to create like a kids or like a teen rec center?
Yeah, well, that's something that this council has been talking about a lot, with thoughts of doing more teen things down there. And I know liaison to the seniors, has been talking about, Councilman Fabray has been talking about getting a movie projector so that we can show movies down there at night for seniors during the day and teens at night. There are other pieces of property in town that have recently caught the eye of the council for thought of potential teen areas. But that's a question that usually comes up every year. And I think we're all pretty aware that we need to do something about it.
What type of activities would you be looking for?
I don't know, just like maybe like sports, stuff like that, ping pong games, stuff like that, movies, yeah.
It's a good idea. The challenge has always been getting the supervision that we need, right? Most of the folks that work for the town work during the day, and you guys have other plans during the day, so coordinating coverage of the building with, the right supervision has always been the challenge. But you're right. I'm glad you brought it up, and I think we should spend a little more time talking to our recreation director about what we can do to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jaden Ray, and I was wondering why Maywood doesn't have its own high school, if there ever is going to be one.
Yeah, well, that's the age-old question here, Maywood. Why don't we have our own high school? I wish I had a good answer for you. I think, there's not a family in town that hasn't asked that question. The unfortunate thing is we don't have one, and to build a new one would be hundreds of millions of dollars at this point, and probably probably not something that's going to happen. But I know our Board of Ed works very hard to make sure that the high school that we do go to, Hackensack, or other ones that they've looked into, are the best schools that we can possibly get for our students. There's an old kind of wives' tale that goes on and talks about back in the 60s, there's an option to build a high school or build a swimming pool in town. And we have a swimming pool in town. Well, it's partly true. There was a thought of putting a high school in that area, but it was never an either-or type of question because, as you can imagine, the cost of building a high school is much more expensive than the cost of building a pool. So I know it's been something that the town has looked at for many, many years. Originally, our students went to Hackensack High School, and then they went to Pagoda High School. And then back in, I guess, the late 50s or 60s, we switched back to Hackensack, and we've been there ever since. So I know the Board of Ed members that are here are always looking into that because it's expensive to send people to Hackensack High School, and I know everybody would much rather have their own high school. I'm sorry to say that it's probably a very wishful thought, and it would be great. But I think because of the expenses, we're just going to have to do the best that we can and rely on the Board of Education to make sure that we're sending our students to the best high school that we can.
Okay, thank you. Hey, I'm Jody Simone, and I'm wondering, the wall court has been knocked down for about a year and a half now at the park, and is there any plans to put anything there or rebuild the wall court?
Well, I guess there was initially a thought of putting tennis courts in that area, and that still may be an option. Something else that's also being thought of is building a pavilion area, like some parks have, where you could put picnic tables underneath it so that people can go there and have picnics and things of that nature. So that area is still being looked at pretty closely. The unfortunate thing with that wall was it was kind of coming down on its own. And we were fortunate enough to have a donation for a contracting company to take it down for us without a cost to the borough. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Tony Felber. Sometimes right at night I like to go to the park with my friends and play some basketball, before, like, whether it's a weekend or Friday or whatever, and just want to hang out. And I know I've been questioned a lot about this, like whether there's a curfew or not, Maywood, and I know not many people here know if there is. If there is, what time is it? Because I always have concerns when I'm walking back home late at night, and I don't know.
I don't know how to answer that question. The answer is no.
Well, there's no day.
There's only one day a year that there's a curfew, and that's the night before Halloween.
Yeah.
That there's a curfew on. There is a time frame that the parks close. The parks close, I think it's 9:30 or 10, and there's signs posted up there, but there is no official curfew in town. Let's all not stay out all night tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi.
How you doing?
My name is Justice Figueroa, and I have a question on sporting things. We have baseball, basketball, and the soccer team. I want to know if we have any more sporting opportunities for other people who are interested in other various sports or something like that.
I think the rec department has gotten into lacrosse lately. They've started offering lacrosse, not through the MYA, but through the rec department with other towns.
Sure,
Saddlebrook, yeah.
We just started bowling, didn't it?
Yeah,
The MYA offers baseball, soccer, basketball, bowling, cheerleading. Saddlebrook offers a lacrosse program. Hackensack offers wrestling and football. Maywood Ortho Park Girls Softball handles softball as well. There's also a flag football league out of Roseville Park, and we've had some affiliation with
The best swim team in all of Bergen County.
I really wanted to start a bocce team, too. Nobody's backing me up on that.
What do you think?
What would you like to see?
Football team or something like that.
Football. Used to be a football team in Maywood back in the day. Back when it was black and white.
I recently moved here, so.
All right, we'll talk to the rec director.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maya Rakowski, and we all know that Passaic is a very busy street, and many people have to cross it in the morning to get to the bus stop. And there have been a few accidents, one involving one of my family members. So I was wondering if you would be able to put additional crosswalks along that street.
We have talked to the county about doing that, and I've actually worked with Assemblyman Eustace as he was transitioning out of the mayor's job about crosswalks on Passaic Street. The county is a little hesitant on allowing us to do that. They control Passaic Street. But it is always something that we're looking at, especially, I guess, around Bergen and Hill Street, around that area. And we'll keep looking at it. The problem with Passaic Street is it's a high volume traffic and high speed. And as I'm sure you're very familiar, it's got a potential for a lot of danger crosswalks there. But we'll keep working on the county because we do need crosswalks along Passaic Street to get people to Pleasant Avenue. So we'll keep working on that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Zane Bobber. During the hours of 2 to 5 a.m., I've been told you're not allowed to park your cars in the street. Being that it's an inconvenience, what is the purpose that you can't park your car in that hour?
Go ahead, Police Commissioner.
Sure. There's actually several reasons that the town enforces a no parking ordinance that you referred to. First and foremost is for access to the streets in case of an emergency. Fire trucks, a lot of streets in Maywood are very narrow, and a lot of those incidents happen at night. Fire trucks need easy access to the streets. The second and more practical reason is so that the police department keep track of all the cars that are on the street in the middle of the night. No big surprise that sometimes bad things happen in the middle of the night, and it's much easier when there's a record of the cars that are on the street, and by giving tickets to those people that park between 2 and 5 on the street, that happens. And then the last and probably the least important reason is for things like snow removal and maintenance of the streets and so forth. The garbage trucks come first thing in the morning, the recyclables get picked up first thing in the morning, and again, when we have snowstorms, you can't park on the street anyway, but even after a follow-up to clean up on the streets with leaves and so forth. But yeah, there's safety reasons, there's practical reasons, and yeah, we do understand that for some folks that can be a little bit of an inconvenience, but the town does offer parking spots for rent, so if anybody has more cars than their driveway will allow, like me, but I have a nice neighbor who lets me use a spot in her driveway. There's always spaces that folks can rent where they can go park the cars in Memorial School and down at the pool and back behind the library. So there are spots where you can park your car if you do need to do a little additional parking.
Thank you.
Good question. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Natasha Shekva. I feel like Maywood is one of the only towns in Bergen County that doesn't have a turf field. Do you guys have any ideas of if you're planning to make one?
Well, probably not at the current fields, but if you look down on the south side of town across the train tracks, where some of us live. There is a big area where the Sears building is. You can see it from Route 17 and some of the properties back there. It is the hope, I guess, that when that properties and those properties get redeveloped, that we may be able to grab some portion of that for a new ball field down on that side. It's a hope, and it's not a thing that's certainly going to be in writing and happening next year. But the thought process would be if there's a new field going to be put in down there, that may be a prime location for turf. Now, there's arguments on both sides of the field, so to speak, about turf or not the turf and what the benefits are of turf and what the negatives are of turf, but I hope we are able to have those discussions. I hope that we get the opportunity to put in a new field down there and have those discussions, because I know some other towns, like Rochelle Park, has a big turf field, and they're easy to maintain, or some people say they are, and some people say they're very expensive to maintain, but
They're very nice with lights.
and they're very nice with lights, and that's the hope and dreams, that as that property redevelops down there, that we may be able to pull off a new park and have to do it with turf.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Amit Algazar, and I was wondering if you guys could provide more snow plows to come and do a more efficient job of cleaning the snow around my house, because
Where do you live?
104 Demers Place. Because my dad, who has a disease, last year had to come out and shovel snow, and it really wasn't good for his health.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. As you recall, last year it was kind of snowed every day last year. It was a bad snow day, but what we've done this year, and the DPW liaison, Mr. Linda now, can explain a little more, is we've bought a new system for our plowing, which you'll see in some other towns. Paramus, I know, does it, and Rochelle Park does it, which is calcium chloride, which will spray some calcium chloride onto the salt. And if you notice, if you drove through Rochelle Park and the streets were pristine and clear right down to the blacktop, and then you get to Maywood and there was still snow left over, and it was very frustrating. But it's a relatively new system. It's a brand new system for us, and
try it out.
we'll see if we try it out. We're not hoping to try it out tomorrow night. We may have to try it out tomorrow night. But hopefully that calcium chloride system, what that does is it makes the salt work a lot more efficiently and melts the snow, it keeps the snow from freezing back quickly. So hopefully that improvement, which was a substantial upgrade, will see benefits this year, and hopefully we'll make sure that all the snow is gone as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Hi, my name's Jack Taylor, and recently there was an incident where a car crashed into Mario's Pizza, and I was wondering if you had any plans to prevent those kind of incidents.
Well, that's actually something that I was going to bring up tonight, because that happened during last Wednesday, I believe. A car jumped the curb and made it between the two bollards and crashed right into the front door of Mario's Pizza. I've started to have a discussion with the police chief about what we can do to prevent that, because we've now had, I think, 2 incidences within the last 2 years where people have made it between the bollards somehow. I don't know how many times the bollards stop people, because maybe if they get stopped, they just keep going the other direction. But we do have to take a good look about what's in between the bollards. A lot of the in between the bollards, if you go down Pleasant Avenue, there's a tree, there's a big garbage can. There was a planter in this one that got demolished as part of getting hit by the car, but maybe we have to take a look at making those planters a little more sturdy, or putting more trees in between the bollards, because if there's a tree in between the bollard, that'll stop or should slow down a vehicle enough that somebody hits the brakes. But it is a problem that we're looking at, because the bollards, there seems to be too big of a gap between the bollards.
Thank you.
Thanks. I was expecting a Board of Ed question, actually.
Hello, my name is Solana Baloli. Recently our class went to rake leaves at some of the homes in Maywood. While on this job, I noticed that there are many leaf paper bags left on the streets, not on the sidewalks. Is there any way the town can take care of this paper bags?
The people put them in the street
Yes.
and leave them on the sidewalk? I guess just by trying to tell people to leave them on the sidewalks, to keep them out of the street, the part of the intention years ago when they stopped allowing you to put your leaves in the street was to get the leaves off the street. So it doesn't help if you put the bag on the street too. So you're just putting a neater pile of leaves. But we'll try to make sure that maybe on the next year's flyer that we send out with the calendar of the pickup that we remind people not to leave the bags on the street but leave them on the curb. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, Joe, now I know how it felt to run that marathon.
Good job.
No other questions? I appreciate everybody coming. I think everybody on this council truly appreciates you being here. You're more than welcome to watch the rest of the meeting. It's great that you're here. By all means, come back again. You don't have to come back as a class. Our videos, or our meetings, rather, are put up on YouTube. So watch them, stay involved with your town. If you go on the borough website, there's lots of committees that you can volunteer for and serve. If there's anything that interests you, like a historical committee or a recreation committee, if you want to get involved in that. I know the recreation department runs youth government program, where in March, I believe it is, that you'll have an opportunity to sign up and probably get more credit for school. If you do that, and you can get a little more interaction with the council members and the people who work at the borough. We have a lot of great, wonderful people who work for our town. We have a great police department that works for the town, and we have a bunch of great volunteers that work for the town, and that's what I would encourage each one of you to do, stay involved in the town. If you have questions like the ones that you brought up tonight, these are great questions. Bring them back to us. Come back to us. Talk to your teachers about that. That's how things get changed. That's how things get improved in Maywood. And I'd also like to remind everybody that on Friday we are having our tree lighting ceremony on Pleasant Avenue down by Lincoln. A little tree there will be lit, and Santa Claus will be coming to town. There'll be horse and carriage rides and roasted chestnuts and all kinds of fun things to do. And that's on Friday at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So everyone please show up to that, and everyone please have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for coming. Okay, we'll continue to move on the agenda. Is there anybody else from the public? Anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Anybody else? Anybody? Anybody else? Anybody? Anybody at all? Oh, Mr. Roberta, come on up. No respect. Anybody else?
Gus Avacia, 72 East Hunter Avenue. I have a concern about Central. One of the children mentioned Central Avenue. I'm concerned what's going to happen when it gets snow on it, and our snow plows or the county snow plows are not going to be able to get it down. It's going to be, because this slush is all hot. You guys know that.
It's rough, and we plow, the borough plows the county roads, State Street, Essex Street, Maywood Avenue, and Central. So we're responsible for doing that. The county reimburses us for some of the costs there. The DPW is keenly aware of the unlevel ground that's there, and they're going to do their best to make sure that we don't reopen the holes that were just put in. It's not going to be easy.
Why not?
They're going to have to, with the
Yeah.
house, have to put rates.
Hopefully, maybe it won't snow.
That's right.
But they're aware of the problem areas, and you know, it's not going to be fun for them, and you know, they're going to keep an eye on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Mr. Brown. Why don't you just put your hand up? I didn't see you there. Wise guy. I don't think that works.
It's not working.
Okay.
Well, it's John Brown, 41 Sterling Avenue. Just clarification, the $1.9 million bond anticipated note, that's just declaring it as tax exempt, correct?
That is not a new bond, it is
Right.
rolling over the old.
I just wanted clarification. And number two, the window project for the library. Normally, when you have architectural fees like, you know, we have our engineer do, they're site managers for the project. Is this including site management for this job?
This will be, yeah, this will put him as the project architect. So
He's the project
That's
architect.
nuts.
That's in his proposal to
Yeah.
us.
Good. So, yeah, because we've had problems with that in the past. I just want to make
But we'll
certain.
be on top of it.
No, he'll be there, soup to nuts on it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone?
Good evening. Karen Snayer from Lenox Avenue in Maywood. I dropped a petition off at Borough Hall. You're aware of it?
I am aware.
Okay. I have an additional paper that was sent by Reverend Wellington. I'd like you to have it because it's self-explanatory. I didn't know that he's been trying also to help.
Okay.
He's been on this for a year and a half. He hasn't had much success. We are planning to meet with him December 7th with all the neighbors from Toma and Lenox to try to rectify the noise from the church and cut the amplification down.
Right.
So may I give this to you?
Absolutely. Come on up. This, just for clarification, this has to do with the Presbyterian Church on the corner of Toma and Maywood Avenue.
I don't know where he was even on to it. I had spoken to him. He had told me to go visit him. I just didn't make the connection between the two. And he apologized and everything, and he's really been trying to help a lot. So hopefully, with all of us together at this meeting, we'll do something about it. He's been about a year and a half, he hasn't had too much success, but at least he's trying. Hopefully,
Yeah.
really, really help.
Yeah.
Everything.
All right. We'll keep on it as well.
Okay.
This has to do with, again, for the record, this has to do with the First Presbyterian Church. There's a subtenant that utilizes the church for services and Sundays, and apparently using the amplification system, which is making its way outside of the church walls and interfering with the peace and enjoyment of the residents around that area. So hopefully this December meeting will something will come of that, and the borough will also monitor that and have the Board of Health people look into that as well. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We'll close it to the public. We kind of skipped over any work session items if anybody wants to add anything to the agenda. Does anybody want to add anything to the agenda? Anything on or off the agenda? Mr. Lindenau?
No.
Mr. Maroney?
No, thank you.
Mr. Eisenberg?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Messar?
No, thank you.
Mr. Fabre?
No, sir.
Council President Ballerini?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We have the October 14 work session and closed session minutes, and the October 28 council meeting and closed session minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion for the minutes?
Second. Roll call.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Maroney?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Fabre?
Yes.
Ballerini?
Yes.
Okay, presentation of bills and claims, and request for any public comment. Any public comment for the bills that are on the agenda? Okay, is there a motion to approve the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Maroney?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Fabre?
Yes.
Ballerini?
Yes.
Correspondence and report of Borough Clerk.
I would just bring to your attention the addition of the resolution since last week on the agenda, as well as some last-minute checks that didn't make the cutoff bill that we amended as well. And wish everybody and their families a happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. Mayor, just a short note that the Borough Hall will be closing tomorrow at 1 o'clock to allow the staff administrative staff to leave a little bit early for the Thanksgiving holiday. And we are closed Friday as well. It's a holiday for both the Borough Hall and the DPW. And I'm hoping that they won't have to work because of the snow. And I'm sure it's just going to rain tomorrow. And I also would just like to wish the mayor and council a very happy Thanksgiving, as well as the residents of the town. And I hope to see everybody Friday night for the tree lighting. It should be a very fun night for a lot of different reasons. We hope everybody enjoys it.
Briefly, Mr. Mayor, we're going to be meeting with the borough engineer and the Hangen representatives in connection with the pump station easements. We'll be walking the site with them about a week from Friday, I believe. And we'll try to bring that to a conclusion. Final.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, committee reports. Councilman Linda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As stated earlier, the calcium chloride tanks are on the truck, filled and ready to go.
Brian?
Brine is ready to go. Plows have been put on the trucks. Any adjustments and modifications or what have you have been made. We are ready to go if anything happens. The guys want to try out the calcium chloride. Other than that, I was contacted by a resident on Elm Street requesting a four-way stop sign down the corner of Park and Elm. And then we have the traffic division look at that and give us an evaluation. Okay, but for that, that's all I have.
Okay, Councilman Borough.
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor. Just wish everyone a healthy and happy Thanksgiving. Yes.
Councilman Eisenberg.
It's my time.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to report as well. The same, I wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Have a nice time spend with your family, and hope to see everybody on Friday at the tree lighting ceremony.
Councilman Messot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick programming note from the Board of Education. The meeting scheduled, the BOE meeting scheduled for Wednesday, December 17th has been moved to Monday, December 22nd, and the reorg meeting will be Wednesday, January 7th. On a personal note, I was not able to attend the last meeting due to business obligation, but I do appreciate all of the congratulatory wishes from all the members of the mayor and council. I did watch the YouTube video about 23 times, just so it made me feel like I was here in person. Just a couple of notes of thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank my running mate, Rick Dare, and congratulations on being councilman-elect. I want to thank the team, my family, the other council members and the mayor for your support through the entire campaign. I look forward to the next 3 years, and as we said in our campaign, we promise to do over the next 3 years what is right for Maywood. Thank you.
Councilman Fabray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quick, Sunday, December 4th at the Maywood Public Library, there will be a holiday celebration of light and a sing-along performed by the adult piano keyboard class, and it is hosted by the Maywood Recreation Department. Also, at the library, the fire official was there recently, and we're looking into having, there's a discussion about having quarterly fire drills. And so he went there, I think, today to talk to the director, and it's his understanding that the JIP is also recommending that other borough buildings have fire drills as well, so I will keep the council posted on that, and I'm sure the borough will as well. The Golden Age Senior Group is looking to open their membership to a certain number of non-residents. Right now they have just about 70 members, and the number that was mentioned is maybe about 10, going up about 10 more. from neighboring towns. I just want to let the council know, because obviously they get support from the borough, and that support is for residents, but there are some people there, friends, I don't think it should be that big of a deal, but I will keep the council posted which way they decide to vote on that. With regard to the fire department, I have a few issues I'd like to deal with. First, I'd like to congratulate firefighters Matthew Botto, Rob Dare, Patrick Gilday, Michael Pegg, and Chief Gary Newman, who was in fact, for being chosen to present the colors at the New Jersey Devils game on November 15th.
Oh, cool.
Their pictures are on plastered on Facebook all over the place, so
That's deep.
just look for it with a lot of people. With the potential of tomorrow's snowfall/storm, and I guess like everything now, there's a flurry, it's a storm, but with that potential, on behalf of the council and the fire department, I'd like to remind the residents and property owners that as per borough ordinance, all fire hydrants must be cleared within 12 hours of snowfall. I'm sure you recall what happened last year when a house was lost in Garfield to a hydrant because there was a hydrant that was covered in snow and couldn't be cleared in time. Fires grow exponentially, and every second counts when lives and property is at stake. And I guess that's a good segue to talk about the fire that we had this week on East Passaic Street. First, let me thank Hackensack and Rochelle Park for helping to knock down the fire. And I want to thank Paramus, Saddlebrook, and Lodi for sending apparatus into Maywood and covering the town in case any other calls came in. The cause of that fire was determined to be an unattended lit candle. Luckily, we were able to limit the fire damage to the one bedroom. But during this holiday season, I want to remind everyone, please, 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 do not leave any candles unattended for any amount of time. Even if you have to just run for Krausers, you got to get some milk, you want to get the hour down, something like that. Just make sure you put the candles out, seriously. It only takes seconds for something to happen, and there's no undoing the damage that can be done once it is done. Maywood is no stranger to that kind of tragedy. Anyone who was here in 2003 living in town remembers the fire in Eccleston Place that took 3 members of the Quick family.
Same cause.
I'm sorry?
Same cause.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's the same cause. There was an 8-year-old, 7-year-old, and a dad. The children got trapped upstairs, and the dad went to help them and got disoriented, and all 3 of them succumbed to the smoke. So that's something that I never want to see happen in Maywood, and let's hope that if you do have anything like that, candles, please pay attention, do not go to sleep, do not leave the house, put them out. And also have a plan, God forbid if there is a fire, have a plan what to do, tell your family what the plan is, have fire extinguishers ready. If you have kids, maybe take one. I did it with my children. Take one of those extinguishers and show them how to use it. It's not that hard. There's videos on YouTube. Show them how to use it. Expand the extinguisher, get another one, but just have a plan. And lastly, this year, Truck 17, of which I'm a member, has the honor and the privilege of escorting Santa to the parking lot at the Community Bank. And I hope to see everybody there and have a happy Thanksgiving. Everybody in the council. Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Please, Mr. Valerie, have something similar in length, so I don't want to catch on the
Council President Valerie.
Nothing to report.
I'm debating it right now, I tell you. Go out on a high note. I actually did prepare a little bit of a report for the council, so I might as well go ahead and present it for you. There you go, Adrian, you're welcome. I got the court revenue numbers from the Paramus Court for October. The revenue to the town was $15,144.25, bringing our year-to-date total through October to $144,932.49. Bring that up because a certain resident had asked me about it. Those numbers, so I want to make sure I report those on a regular basis. We do have our next planning board meeting will be in these chambers on Thursday, December 4th at 7:30. Please do check the borough website for the agenda. We did have an adjournment of our last meeting. It is believed that the application affectionately referred to as the Salvation Army application will be officially withdrawn. From the police department, a couple things coming up before the end of the year that I wanted to make the council aware of. This time of year is when we approve towing licenses for next year. So for 2015, the applications have been reviewed, recommendations have been forwarded to the borough administrator and the borough clerk. So I anticipate we'll have those for approval at our next meeting. Sure. Likely, right? Okay. I think there were 3 on the list, and all 3 turned out to be, or 4, and all 4 were in line with the requirements. The chief has indicated in a memo a purchase request against the DEA forfeiture account to upgrade the digital fingerprinting system. The new system will cost approximately $20,000 and add several new features for scanning and sharing print information across law enforcement agencies. The current balance on the forfeiture account is approximately $190,000. The chief advises, and has been discussed a couple times tonight, all the major work regarding the project on Central Avenue has concluded. The streets, as our residents noted, that are in disrepair and being repaired will be repaved, in 2015. I should have cut it off there, right? I should have just left it with you, Adrian. Couple of just other quick things to note. One of the new officers, Officer Patton, completed his road training. He came to us as a new officer. He's been assigned to his permanent shift. The chief was effusive in his praise of the 2 new officers that were hired by the department. So congratulations to the council on selecting such awesome candidates. He did also report that our mischief night, as we call it, was a very quiet night. He asked me to pass along special thanks to our special police for their volunteer efforts on that night, and Halloween night as well, keeping the streets safe, keeping the kids safe. Echoing Councilman Fabray's notice about snow, just a reminder, and I'm sure it's not lost on the folks who've lived here a long time, can't park on the street when it snows, can't throw your snow in the street when it snows. So please be mindful and keep the streets clear of cars and additional snow. And I have 3 items for closed session. Oh, and I do remind folks that if you have a computer or a smartphone or a tablet, Twitter and Nixle are both available from the Maywood Police Department and excellent sources of current information with regard to weather and snow emergencies and such things. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. First, I want to thank...
Oh, and happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody else. Live the world, Ferguson, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
I want to thank the Maywood Chamber of Commerce, Malt Products, Freedom Bank, and Community Bank for sponsoring our tree lighting ceremony that's going to go on Friday, 6 o'clock, Pleasant Avenue. We'll start with the lighting of the tree at Lincoln and Pleasant. There'll be horse-drawn carriages, chestnut roasters, carolers.
5:30.
5:30, the horse-drawn carriages start at 5:30. And then truck 17 will bring Santa down. I remind everybody that there is caroling on Pleasant Avenue throughout December. December 5th, that's Friday, Memorial School Choir will be there at 6 o'clock at the Community Bank lot. December 12th, the Maywood Girl Scouts will be there, and they'll also be collecting for the local food pantry. If you go to see them at 6 o'clock in the Community Bank parking lot. And December 19th, the Maywood Avenue School Choir will be caroling. I believe there's going to be a special caroling of the Maywood Borough employees, perhaps with tree lighting led by our borough clerk. So that alone should draw everybody out to come see.
The voice of an angel.
Yeah, the tree lighting.
The songbird of our generation.
If you notice, when we're talking about Pleasant Avenue, the turnarounds have been repainted. That is not the new turnarounds that are going to be done as a result of the grant funding, which we're using thermoplastic on. Because the weather got too cold, we can't do the thermoplastic until it reaches 65 degrees in a few days, so we'll probably wind up doing that in the spring. That's why we repainted the arrows for the time being. The new ones will be put in the spring, and perhaps the striping along Pleasant Avenue of the spots and the crosswalks will be restriped with the thermoplastic in the spring as well. While we're talking about Pleasant Avenue, I want to thank Timely Cleaners on Pleasant Avenue, who has cleaned all the borough flags at no cost to the borough. Wow. It was a very nice donation that they made to the borough. We appreciate their service to the borough. So while we're talking about Pleasant Avenue again, Saturday is Shop Local Day, where I think American Express started that a few years ago. It is a reminder to shop local and shop at the local stores. We've got the best downtown, in my opinion, in Bergen County, due to its location and its pedestrian friendliness. So I encourage everybody to take advantage of all the shops on Pleasant Avenue, Essex Street, Maywood Avenue, Passaic Street, and Spring Valley as well, and patronize our local businesses. They have all sponsored us in various ways, the Fall Fest, the fireworks, the 4th of July parade, and certainly the tree lighting ceremony. Without them, we'd be utilizing tax funds for that, and we have not been needed to do that for 3 years now. And I want to tip my hat to the borough administrator, who has solicited those funds from our local businesses to the tune of approximately $90,000 over the last 3 years. Solicited. So,
Let the record indicate air quotes.
It's $90,000 of funds that were not taxpayer funds. These were donations that were raised and paid for every Fall Fest that we've had, the bands at the 4th of July, the fireworks at the 4th of July, and the tree lighting ceremony, to which we've added chestnut roasters this year. They paid for that as well. So those are the fun things that make our town the small town that it is, and I appreciate your efforts in doing that, and I certainly appreciate the businesses who sponsored that, and those are the same businesses that sponsor our local youth sports teams, so it's very, very important that we all, pay them back by shopping there and going to the restaurants in town. I want to thank Billy Jelinski, who put up all the lights along Pleasant Avenue again. They're going to be turned on Friday, along with the tree lighting ceremony. Pleasant Avenue will be all decked out for the season. We have a tree down in the lobby you probably all saw coming up. We have a menorah put up for Hanukkah as well. The tree will be decorated with ornaments from the students of Maywood Memorial Schools with the theme of the history of Maywood, this being the 120th year of the anniversary of the incorporation of the borough. I want to echo the words that were spoken about the snow. Please don't park in the streets when the snow is down. Give the DPW time to clear the streets, hoping that calcium chloride is going to do its trick this year. Do not throw your snow onto the fire hydrants. That's a major reason why they get covered up, is because our snow blowers wind up blowing the snow all over them. So be mindful of the fire hydrants as you're shoveling and clearing. I want to thank the fire department. The chief is in the back, and the former chief is in the back, on the great job that you did on the house fire on Passaic Street this past week. That was a good job, and thankfully nobody was injured. None of the firemen were injured, and we appreciate the volunteers who serve our town. So thank you very much. I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. I know a lot of stores are open. Don't shop local on Thanksgiving Day. Stay home with your families and spend Thanksgiving, with the important things in life. So that being said, I know that we have no resignations tonight, but one appointment. John Taylor, as a member of the Maywood Fire Police, effective November 25, 2014. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move the appointment.
Second.
Roll call. Lindenau?
Yes.
Maroney?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Nessa?
Yes.
Severide?
Yes.
Ballerini?
Yes. Okay, with nothing for council approval. Resolutions by title.
Resolution 15914, transfer of funds number 1. Resolution 16014, a resolution authorizing architectural services for the library window replacement. Resolution 16114, a resolution authorizing the redemption of a tax sale certificate for Block 101, Lot 13. Resolution 16214, resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Maywood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, designating a $1,937,780 bond anticipation note dated November 14, 2014, payable November 13, 2015, as a qualified tax-exempt obligation pursuant to Section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as amended. Resolution 16314, resolution confirming endorsement of the community development grant for the installation of Americans with Disabilities compliant curb cut ramps at various locations within the Borough of Maywood. Resolution 16414, resolution authorizing the Borough engineer to perform engineering services for the Maywood Avenue streetscape project.
Is there a motion for adoption of the resolution?
Move for the adoption.
Second. Discussion. On the transfer of funds, the sewer testing. Last year we had a sewer problem on Christmas Day. Are we confident, and has it been recommended by the engineer that the sewers are properly inspected before we debit that account, $8,000?
Well, I mean, this is a technicality as far as dollars are concerned. Certainly, if in fact we had another emergency, we would have to do the same thing we did last year, was, have an emergency resolution for, for any money we expend. As far as testing, I'm actually...
This is testing.
No, I understand, but the testing had nothing to do with the break that we had. We had decided that we were going to, in next year and future years, allow a certain amount of money in the budget for the repair of certain streets so that we can avoid what happened on Lenox last year, but this has nothing to do with that.
But are we testing regularly?
There's no way to test for what happened.
Are we putting the cameras?
The inspections,
Yes, that is going on.
that's ongoing, and that's not...
If you recall, on Halloween,
Right.
the DPW was working on the sewers. The reason why they were working on the sewers is because they did an inspection that day, and it dragged on, they found a blockage, and that's why it dragged on into the afternoon that day. So they do regular inspections at the hot spots, so to speak, that they know of in the area, which are problematic areas, one being Pleasant Avenue because of the grease trap, certain areas of town, but there is regularly testing.
Right, but for the CFO to take this money out to put it someplace else, there has to be, I looked at each one of these and there was enough money left in the accounts to cover what is normal expenditures. Should something untoward happen, obviously we would have to allow for that in another way.
Okay. All the department heads are aware of what's being taken in their department, and they feel that there's
those numbers are
funds and these are all set.
Right.
The department heads are aware of the transfers.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Linda now?
Yes.
Maroney?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Nestor?
Yes.
Cliff Wright?
Yes.
Ballerini?
Yes. We have no introduction of order. The new business. The old business. Miscellaneous business. This being the 120th anniversary of the Borough of Maywood, I encourage everybody to learn about the history of Maywood. Read Ed Kaminsky's book on the railroad in the Borough of Maywood. Talk to Betty Fetzer, our borough historian. Come to a historical committee meeting. Go to the website of the historical committee. Learn about the Borough of Maywood's history. The trivia of the night of the Maywood history. Mr. Brown is on the edge of his seat. Since we've talked about the DPW so much tonight, the DPW was formed in 1925, consisting of one man, a wheelbarrow, and 2 shovels. As of 1944, the 50th anniversary of the borough, we had 2 men, 2 plows, a lawnmower, and a bunch of shovels. Probably have the same shovels right now, actually, in the borough. During the 30s and 40s, following streets were first paved: Elm, Terrace, Grove, Park, Poplar, and Oak. And the cost was directly assessed to the adjacent property owners.
That's right.
Nice.
The way it always was.
How about them apples?
That's why my mother sold her house.
That's why some of those streets have not been paved since the 30s and 40s. 1890s, a $12,000 bond was passed to pave the 6th Street, Spring Valley Road and Avenue, Central Avenue, and Maywood Avenue. $12,000 to pave all those streets. You couldn't get the engineer to review the plans for $12,000 for one of those streets at this point. But that is the trivia of the day. Continue to learn about Maywood. I have 2 closed matters of personnel I'd like to bring up. But is there a motion to go into closed?
Motion to go into closed session for the purposes of discussing personnel matters
Second.
Roll call. Lindenau?
Yes.
Maroni?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Nessa?
Yes.
Fabré?
Yes.
Ballerini?
Yes.
Be resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Maywood pursuant to provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Mayor and Council meeting in closed session, discuss the following subject matters, personnel. Be further resolved as precisely as can be determined at this time, the discussion conducted in such closed session to be disclosed to the public upon taking final action thereon, provided disclosure shall not violate attorney-client privilege or constitute undue invasion of privacy. Be further resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Maywood will not return to open session after this meeting. With regards to the judge, do so.
Thank you very much, everyone. We are